gentlemen, and welcome to our third annual Tellabration. I'm Ned Carter. I'm the president of the Yarn Spinners. Yarn Spinners in this case mean people that tell stories. We don't have anything to do with wool. First thing I'd like you to do is turn off your cell phone. Or put it on vibrate if that works. During the month of November, celebrations are happening on every continent in the world except Antarctica. There's nobody there to listen. And most of the states in the United States are having celebrations throughout the whole month. Tonight you're going to hear stories that are personal. You're going to hear stories that are truthful. You're going to hear stories that are not quite so truthful. And you're going to hear stories that we would call folk stories. And a lot of things in between. We're glad you're here. One of the things that we say at our monthly business meeting, after we're done with all the business, is we say, let's tell stories. That's what we're going to do right now. Individually, these tellers have told you of trucks and turkeys. Tonight, they unite to tell you about what happened while Jim was gone on an 8-week mission trip to Haiti. Here are Jim and Carrie Neal with No News.
Hi, darling. Missed you.
Hi, honey. Welcome home.
Thank you. Anything happened while I was gone?
No, nothing happened while you were gone.
Nothing happened while I was gone? 8 weeks?
Well, the dog died.
What happened to the dog?
Your grandson was sitting on the case tractor and he was messing with the levers and he disengaged the clutch and the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog and the dog died.
Number one, I don't let the grandkids play on the tractors. And he's only 2.
Well, your mom put him up there to keep him out of trouble and he disengaged the clutch and the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog and the dog died.
My mother, with Alzheimer's, was watching a 2-year-old.
She was the only one left. Everybody else was off fighting fire.
Fight.
She put him up on the tractor and he disengaged the clutch and the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog and the dog died.
Fighting fire. What fire?
Your equipment shed burnt to the ground. Nothing left but the pad. And everybody went off to fight the fire. You know, the fire department came and everything, and they left your mom with your grandson, and she set him up on that tractor, and he disengaged the clutch, and the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog, and the dog died.
So how did the fire start?
Sparks from the hayfield lit on the roof. It went up in a ball of flames. Everybody rushed off to put out the fire. Left your mom with your grandson. She put him on the tractor. He disengaged the clutch. The tractor rolled down the hill over the dog, and the dog died.
So, what started that fire?
Your daughter-in-law was out smoking in the backyard. You know I don't allow smoking in the house. And she was out smoking in the backyard. She flicked her cigarette butt into that field, and that hay just whoosh, and sparks landed on the roof. And the shed burnt down, and everybody rushed off to fight the fire and left your mom with your grandson, and she put him up on that tractor, keep him out of trouble. He disengaged the clutch, the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog, and the dog died.
Crystal doesn't smoke. Why did she start smoking?
It wasn't Crystal, it was George's ex-wife. She came, and she was smoking in the backyard, flicked the butt into the field, the hay caught fire, and the sparks landed on the roof of the equipment shed, and it went up. Everybody rushed off to fight the fire. Left your mom with your grandson, and she put him on the tractor, and he disengaged the clutch, and the tractor rolled down the hill over the dog, and the dog died.
What was she doing here all the way from New York?
She came for the funeral, and she was out smoking in the backyard, and she put her cigarette butt into the field, and it caught fire, and sparks landed on the roof, and it burnt to the ground, and everybody rushed off to try and put out the fire. Left your mom with your grandson, and she put him up on that tractor. He disengaged the clutch, and it rolled down the hill over the dog. And the dog died.
Ooh.
smoking in the backyard. She flicked a cigarette butt out into the field and caught fire. Sparks from the hayfield lit on the equipment shed roof, and everybody rushed off to fight the fire. Left your mom with your grandson. She put him up on the tractor. He disengaged the clutch, rolled downhill over the dog, and the dog died.
I have 3 brothers, so which one of them passed? Because they were all healthy when I left.
Your brother, the pastor, died. You know, him and Lisa were always close. And so she came for the funeral, and she was out smoking in the backyard afterward, flicked her cigarette butt into the field, and sparks from the field lit on the equipment shed roof and started burning, and everybody went rushing off to fight the fire and left your mom with the grandson. She put him on the tractor, and he disengaged the clutch, and the tractor rolled down the hill, and the dog died.
He's the only one that ate healthy. What caused him to pass?
Well, you know, the doctor said that it was a heart attack. But I think it was catching his wife with the choir director because he dropped dead on the spot. But other than that, nothing happened while you were gone.
Stand by, it gets foolisher and foolisher. Our next teller likes to tell stories of interaction between people and not so people. The tailor and the hair woman, that's H-A-R-E woman, is from an anthology of Irish folk tales by Bob Curran. Here is Anita Harms.
Hares are very much like rabbits, except in Ireland they are considered shapeshifters, and they are known to crisscross across the fields as they run. And they also form circles as if having a conversation. There was a tailor who lived in the county Sligo, and he came down to work near a village at Cool. And he met up with an old farmer and his young wife so that he could provide or have them provide lodgings for him and food. Now, the woman was very pretty, but she had a wicked look about her. So he went up to the county Sligo to get his belongings and his sewing materials, and he came down, and by then the old farmer had died. Now, the woman was still there, and she was willing to accommodate him with food and lodgings, and her voice was gentle, but her eyes were hard. He agreed, and he stayed there, and she was as good as her word. She even brought him breakfast in bed. So he was sorry that he had doubted her. But one morning he woke up, and it was sunny when he heard water splashing and wondered what was going on downstairs. This happened morning after morning, and each time the woman came up with breakfast as if she had just risen. Finally, one morning he could stand it no longer, so he went downstairs very stealthily from the bedroom to see what she was doing. Why, she was readying for her bath, and she was peeling off her clothes. So he turned to go back upstairs, and there was a flash and a puff of smoke, and he turned around, and the woman had turned into a hare. She had gone into the enchanted water and come out a hare, and gone past the kitchen door, past the garden gate, and she was crisscrossing across the field as she went until she disappeared. But he was dumbstruck, frightened, but he had sewing jobs, and so he was curious too. But he went back up to bed and climbed into bed and pulled the covers over him, very frightened. And she still came up with breakfast as before. Now the next morning, he heard that splashing again, and he went out the door of his bedroom, and he went down the stairs, and there he saw her ready in for a bath, peeling off her clothes, jumping into the water, turning into a hare, and going past the kitchen door, past the garden gate. So he, too, decided that he would jump into the water after peeling off his clothes, and there was a flash and a puff of smoke, and he, too, had turned into a hare, gone past the kitchen door, past the garden gate, and he was following her close behind, over hills, through hedges, down ditches, until they came to the bottom of the hill at Bailey Townland. Now the woman went up the hill, and he went up after her, and at the very top of the hill was a circle of hares, the kind of sorcerers that do evil things, like suck milk from cattle or smother people in their sleep. He saw the hare woman join, and then he joined too. There were big ones, there were small ones. There were ones with gray hair, black hair, patches on their back, some with only one ear, and they were all in a circle. And a great big buck hare spoke up. "Go home. We can do no evil spills here, because there's a stranger among us." And they all turned, and they all looked at him. And the hare woman yelled out a shriek, and she started running after him. And they ran down the hill, through hedges, down ditches, up hills, until he saw the garden gate. He ran through the garden gate, past the kitchen door, jumped into the enchanted water, turned back into himself, threw on his clothes, and started running up the stairs until he got into his bedroom and shut the door. But she too jumped into the water, turned back into herself, threw on her clothes, grabbed a kitchen knife, and went running up the stairs and started banging on the door, yelling terrible oaths. He was frightened, so he went back to the end of his room, dropped down into the yard, and started running as fast as he could. Why, he even left some cloth pieces behind. But he would not go back because he wanted nothing more to do with those in the dark arts. He never did hear what happened to her after she banged down the door, but he went up to the county Sligo to work again. And one night when he was working at a house, he leaned over a lamp to do his sewing, and a child cried out, "What's that on the back of your neck?" So he felt back there. It was hare fur, the part that the magic water hadn't touched. So ever since then, he put on a scarf, even in the warmest weather. So if you ever hear of a man wearing a scarf on a summer's day, or a woman splashing in her bath before daylight, you'll know my story is true.